President Biden traveling to a New York district here, flipped by Republicans last year in the midterms. He was there to talk about the economy and the debt ceiling. He had a few words for our next guest when he said the following.
Republican Congressman Mike Lawler's here as well. Mike's on the other team, but you know what? Mike is the kind of guy that when I was in the Congress, they were the kind of Republican I was used to dealing with. But he's not one of these MAGA Republicans, which I'm going to talk a little bit about. I don't want to get him in trouble by saying anything nice about him or negative about him, but thanks for coming, Mike. Thanks for being here. This is the way we used to do it all the time.
Okay, that's the way we used to do it all the time. Mike Lawler's with me now. Sir, good morning to you. There's a tweet that went before that appearance. It said, "We have a sacred obligation to care for the men and women who fought to protect our freedom. This is how MAGA Republicans in Congress have chosen to repay them." I think that was kind of directed toward you, was it? How'd it go?
It was, and you know, when the White House announced this trip to my district, they painted it as a trip to take on, Republicans like me and cast us as quote-unquote MAGA Republicans and extremists. And obviously, I don't think they thought that I would accept the invitation to come. I did, because the president was coming to my district, and I've long believed that we all have an obligation to sit down and talk. And so I went there with that intention. The president gave me the opportunity to meet with him for about 15 minutes before his remarks. And we had a very direct and pointed conversation on the debt ceiling and on the migrant crisis facing our country. And I told him in no uncertain terms, for me, I've had three parameters on this debt ceiling negotiation. The president needs to negotiate with the speaker. We must cut spending, and we cannot default. And I reminded him that, Chuck Schumer can say till he's blue in the face he wants a clean debt ceiling. He does not have the votes to do that. And so we need to all sit down, work together. The president is going to be meeting with the speaker again on Friday, and I encouraged him to take that opportunity to really make progress on a deal, like the Joe Biden of old when he was vice president and worked with John Boehner on a deal. That's what we need to do as a country.
Yeah. Did you get the impression that he's willing to budge on the spending aspect? If so, he might find a compromise there.
Well, I think in the long term, he does understand there's a spending problem. Whether or not he's willing to budge here in the debt ceiling negotiations, he held firm in his speech afterwards that, there should be a clean debt ceiling and the cuts should not be implemented. But I think it was a very frank conversation, and I got the sense that Joe Biden does want to come to a compromise, and I hope he does. And I wrote an open letter to him in this morning's New York Post, basically, imploring him to do just that, come to a compromise.